Alright guys, the final balance changes just came out and they're actually live in game as we speak as well. I'm going to go over all of them. There's actually only 2 changes in the final balance changes compared to the work in progress ones. It might be the least amount of changes they've ever made to a work in progress set. And because there's so few changes, I'm going to quickly go over all of them, read the reaction from the community, and then actually play a game testing out one of the buffed cards. So the Tornado nerf is staying the same. It's going to be doing 50% less damage. The Rage nerf is also staying the same. It's doing 23% less damage. Gobstein nerf is the exact same as well. The monster hit points is being reduced by 4%. The Dagger Duchess nerf staying the same as well, a 4% nerf to her damage. The Berserker buff is staying the same too. Her hit points is getting increased by 8%. The Suspicious Bush buff is getting a 13% damage buff to the Bush Goblins, and again, that's staying the same. Evolved Tesla buff, also still how it is. It's getting a pulse damage buff of 18%. The Evolved Lumberjack rework is also going to be consistent too, the same as the work in progress. It's going to be a 2-cycle evolution now, and the ghost damage is getting increased by 33%. Definitely going to be a very big nerf to the card, even though they call it a rework here on the balance list. The Goblins rework is the first change that's different from the work in progress balance changes. So before, the way they were nerfing and adjusting the Goblins was going to impact all the cards that had to do with Goblins. That included the Evolved Goblin Giant, that included the Evolved Mortar, and the Curse as well. But now, the Goblins rework is only going to affect 2 cards. The Goblins, which as you can see, they're getting a deploy time buff. It's going from 1.2 to 1 second, and then the first hit time nerf, where essentially it's being increased by 50%, going from 0.4 to 0.6. Originally, this was going to impact every Goblin card, including the Goblin Barrel, but now that's not the case. They're just changing the Goblins as well as the Goblin Gang. So the Goblin Barrel is essentially going to stay how it was before, as well as the Evolved Goblin Giant. And you can see for the Goblin Gang, they're nerfing the Goblin's first hit time by 50%, going from 0.4 to 0.6. So it's essentially getting the same nerf that the Goblins got, but they're not getting that deploy time buff, if that makes sense. And then every other Goblin card is going to stay the same. And then the last thing that's getting changed, which wasn't included in the work in progress balance changes, is the Evolved Executioners getting a nerf. And they might have already announced this already, so they're just adding it on to the finalized balances. The ability knockback was reduced by 25%, going from 2 tiles to 1.5. And then the damage was reduced by 13% as well, going from 337 to 294. As far as the community reaction, maybe not super surprising, but a lot of people very confused why the Prince wasn't nerfed. Overall, people are saying the changes are good, but they're just confused. Why was the Prince not nerfed? And you can see pretty much everyone is saying that. Prince dodging every balance change possible, a usual L from Supercell. You just can't make this up. He's referring to the Prince because, as you can see, his profile picture, no Prince. NATO nerf is useless. No Prince is crazy. What are they thinking? I'm going to give my opinion on them not nerfing the Prince while I actually play a game with the Suspicious Bush, because in my opinion, the Suspicious Bush probably got the largest buff out of everything in the set of balance changes. I mean, the Evolved Tesla, you could say objectively it got a bigger buff because it's a higher percent, but keep in mind, not every single time you play the Evo Tesla you get that buffed aspect, because you have to play the regular Tesla, of course, before you cycle to the evolution, whereas the Suspicious Bush, every single time you play it, the Bush Goblins are dealing more damage, which I feel like is very significant. Anyway, as far as the Prince, by the way, I'm using it in this deck. Maybe the Prince will go well with the Suspicious Bush if a lot of people are using it after the buff, or more people anyway. The way I see it is, I don't actually think the Prince is going to be as broken as people think, because even though it didn't get nerfed, the thing you have to keep in mind is the Dagger Duchess got a nerf, as well as the Evolved Lumberjack. And at the top of ladder, the players that were highest with the Prince last season usually had one of those 2 cards, if not both, inside of their deck. So that is something you really have to keep in mind, I feel like. And It's just too with the Boss Bandit, we might have a completely different meta as well, so it's very hard to say for sure. With that being said, though, I can understand people's frustration with the Prince not getting nerfed, but I think people are overreacting a little bit, especially pro players, and it's like understandable because it's an annoying card, don't get me wrong, but I guess it's just, I think it's not actually as broken as some pros think it is, and it probably is going to be toned down a lot because it got indirectly nerfed because of the other cards that got balanced, if that makes sense. So that's just my opinion, and holy moly, the Bush Goblins are dealing so much damage. Did you see that? Wow. I mean, even with the Duchess taking them out fairly quick, it's still, like, it's a very noticeable buff, I feel like. I mean, that was pretty insane. Like, wow, I would not be surprised if we see the Bush, like, actually be viable. So let's see. We go for the Dark Goblin here. I just wanted to wait to make sure it didn't like retarget or anything like that. Or yeah, because sometimes when it shoots backwards. Anyway, let's just do this. That should be good. And then nice. We're going to get those on top of the tower. And good thing they didn't nerf the curse. I'm so glad they decided to change the way they were nerfing the goblins, because otherwise the curse would have gotten nerfed, as well as the evolved mortar, which would have been like so awkward, I feel like. Split lane pressure is pretty good typically with this deck, but I think we just want to play into him most likely. I feel like the Dagger Duchess nerf is going to be super noticeable as well. I mean, a 5% damage nerf might not seem like a lot, but I feel like, I mean, when you're considering, like, that's every single time the tower shoots, and for something as significant as your literal tower, I mean, that's going to make a big difference. So let's just log here. Wait, did he just mirror the Skelly Barrel? I'm pretty sure he did. I could be tripping. Let's go in for the Bush here. And he actually does ignore the Dark Goblin. Dark Goblin connects. All right, in our next one against Danny, screw it. Let's just go Bush first play. Bush, 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 Bush. He goes Rage. That might reach. And we get like one Goblin connection on top of the tower. Bang. Look at that. Bro, literally one Goblin connection did like so much damage. That's insane. Like, it does a lot of damage now, that's for sure. We gotta watch out for this. I feel like this Cannoneer is gonna clutch up for us. Yeah, look at that. That was actually quite nice. Honestly, great start. Kind of some nice interactions going our way. Curse on top of the bats. Mega Knight got dealt with completely. I thought we were gonna take a little bit of damage, but we didn't take any at all. I don't know what cards he has as far as counters to our baity cards besides the Rage. If he only has Rage, then he's in for a rough match, potentially. Bush Goblin, ooh, gets one connection. I was wondering if he would get two, but that's still really nice. I could go guards on top of the Prince, but I don't even think I need to. Oh, he does have the arrows, so arrows as well as Rage. Barrel coming in here, and he goes in for the Queen. I was wondering if he was going to go for bats defensively, because if he did, man, we would have just been able to go for that Curse, getting a lot of value. Let's see, maybe we want to go in for a... By the way, I'm using Log in this deck instead of Rage because... Oh, wait, is that going to be able to one-tap the Queen? Nice, it does. That's actually really clutch. I'm using Log instead of Rage because of the Rage nerf, but I realize Rage might still be better just because of, like, when you can do that, like, Rage on top of, like, Bats right there. But that's still really good. Forced a Mega Knight out of him. Wow. Amazing start to this match. Amazing start. We can go Prince here. If he goes Arrows or something like that on top of the Rascals, then we can get some really good value with our baity cards. Yeah, he actually does. He didn't even need to do that, but he did it anyway. Let's go in here, and then I guess maybe Log, and then we could also go, oh, sweet. Yeah, perfect Curse. I was going to play it anyway, but that just made it even better. Bang. Boom, 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 bang. And that is pretty much another GG. A wrap here, I'd say. So... yeah, I mean, we didn't win this at all because of the Bush, not going to lie, but I don't know. At the beginning, we definitely got some chip damage from it, so it's a noticeable buff. I'm, you know, be on the lookout for it. The Bush might be kind of scary now. Yeah, one connection there. Like, it might be an average card, straight up. I think the Bush might be average. I think it's maybe going to be like a C or B tier card now instead of F, which... is pretty cool, pretty deserved buff, I would say. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe. If you guys are not subscribed already, you can use credit code BOSS to support me in any Supercell game. And thanks again until next time, guys.